Art Toronto people, thank you very, very much for being here. This is a very unusual year for Art Toronto, and I miss the hustle bustle and the hundreds of people coming to see the gallery and see our artists. But I'm very excited about the exhibition we have on right now. We just opened a major exhibition of Dale Chihuly's work, and this is my seventh exhibition with Dale. Just to give you a little bit of history or background to know where my relationship starts with Dale, I actually bumped into him in all places. It was a Saks Fifth Avenue store in Palm Beach. I guess it was meant to be. The year was 1988, and I couldn't help but recognize him. And I pretty much accosted him because at the time I was building a new gallery space. And some of you may remember when I was in the Exchange Tower in First Canadian Place. And that was October 88. And in May of 89, Dale opened that gallery for me. And it was the beginning of a long and definitely a special relationship for myself. So Dale is really a legendary artist and a trailblazer. I mean, he's changed the way we look at glass today with his large scale sculptures and his innovation. And even now, after 5 decades, he's still creating new series, and, you know, his head is full of ideas. It has been 30 years that, as I mentioned to you, that I've been showing Dale's work. So when COVID came upon us, the show was in planning for about 2 years. I had to give a great deal of thought to whether I move forward or whether I delayed the exhibition for another time. But truthfully, it was about the relationship. So much hard work had gone into this exhibition from Dale's side that there was no way in the end that I was going to delay the exhibition. And I'm so delighted that I've gone ahead, and it's definitely brings a lot of light into this world and a lot of beauty. And we are seeing people in the gallery. We're making appointments and seeing people, just a couple of people at a time. And everyone has just felt so good about seeing the beauty that Dale bestows upon all of us. So I should also tell you that there's 2 very special pieces in the exhibition that Dale created especially for this show and actually to honor our longstanding relationship. To talk about the exhibition today, I want to introduce you to Susan Marabito, who, hi Susan.
Hello.
I hope you can all see Susan. She's with Chihuly Studio in Seattle, works very, very closely with Dale on a day-to-day basis. And for the last 8 years has worked very closely with me as well. And it's been a pleasure. And I don't know anyone who's more knowledgeable about Dale and his work than Susan. So you're gonna have a great tour, definitely.
Thank you.
And then we do have Daniel Ainsley on the camera. He's going to be showing you all the magnificent pieces, but I don't think I can introduce you to him. The very first piece that you're going to see, I think Daniel's going to go up to the first major installation in the exhibition. This is called Sea Green and Yellow Persian. And Dale just completed this piece in 2020, and this is one of the pieces that he made for the gallery. He wanted this to be a wow piece, and I think that we're all familiar with the way Dale always has, if not one piece, many pieces that you look at and you can't fathom how those pieces were created. The colors were 2 of my favorite colors, so I feel that's very special. This is called a Persian. The series is called A Persian. And when Dale was very young, in his early 20s, he spent a lot of time in the, well, he grew up in the Pacific Northwest, but he had a job as a fisherman. And he really loved looking at reflections. And if you take a look, these Persian elements reflect into the black plexiglass, which is really almost as beautiful as the glass itself. It seems to go right to the bottom of the ocean if you get up close to it in some areas, it's so deep. And each of these Persian elements has a very different pattern, color. It's very complex, very, very beautiful. It's definitely a centerpiece. Susan, do you have much to say about that piece? You probably saw it being put together in the studio.
I did. We had it in mock-up for quite some time to get it right, because the way that this is made is Dale works and the team work with the welders with the finished pieces so that he can get the relationships really exactly with each other piece of glass. Like, look at this one Daniel's focusing in on right now. The top one is more transparent and you can see through to the bottom one that has a little more punch of color. So it's about the relationships of each of the piece and not only the sculpture itself. And just to speak a little bit about that Persian form, which a lot of people call flowers, this form was originally created quite a while ago in 1986. And for a glass blower, the ideal way to blow glass is to get it as thin as possible. And Dale was trying to come up with a way to get the glass really thin and really large. And he decided to use an optic mold in part of the process. And that's where you see those ridges come down and the flutter on it. And what that optic mold did was give it a little bit of strength, but in the end, it really gave it more reflection and refraction and interesting detail. Also, you can see some of them have a stripe, and that's called a wrap, and some don't. And then the lip wrap contrasting color, like on this one with that deep lipstick red almost.
I meant to mention, if any of you have any questions, you can either write them in and we'll try to answer them, or at the end, we can have a short Q&A, whatever your preference is.
In the chat box, yeah.
In the chat box, yes. Yeah, you even get the reflection of the chandelier in that. So beautiful, thanks, Daniel. So from there, I think that we go, oh, thanks, Susan. So this is Dale's most iconic series, I think, the baskets, Susan? And they as well go back to 1977. The interesting thing I think about Dale and his relationship to his work is that he continually revisits series. Like he developed this series in 77, and yet the baskets that we're looking at here were made, I believe, in 213 and 217. And for those of you who saw Dale's exhibition at the ROM, you'll know that there was a very similar, there were some beautiful baskets in this color as well, in this red color. So Dale's love of baskets started in the early years as well, when he visited a Northwest Native museum, and he saw the way the old Indian baskets were just slumped and very irregular. And up until that time, glass was pretty pristine, whether it was Tiffany glass or Steuben. And Dale questioned that, like, why did glass have to be perfect? And this was his concept of the native Indian baskets, just stacking the baskets inside each other and also slumping them.
Right. Yeah, I might just add that he was looking with a friend of his when he was there, and they were storing the baskets actually at the museum inside of each other. And actually that storing gave him the inspiration to make these forms more organic, like you said, Sandra, but also to blow separate pieces and just nestle them inside. We often get asked, don't we, whether this is one piece, it's all blown together, right, whether they're separate elements. It's considered one piece because it's assembled together and it's meant to be presented this way all together, but they're definitely not anchored in. And that was such a cool shot you got, Daniel.
So, yeah, the shot. And another thing, if you see the shadow on the wall, and Daniel's going to zoom into that shadow, it's almost, I mentioned that the glass reflecting into the acrylic was an integral part of the piece. And you see it again, how the shadow is almost as important as the sculpture. If, you know, it catches your eye, and the depth is incredible.
We've got a short video. Would it be okay to, if I can try to share my screen and we cut to that, Sandra?
Great, that would be terrific. Thanks, Susan.
Okay, let's try this. And let's make this big.
It's the light going through here. I mean, how do you get a stronger presence than that? It's, you know, that's why glass is such a fabulous material. Fabulous. Beautiful piece. Look at that lip wrap, trailing, beautiful.
Nice seeing you guys.
I'm looking at that one, Jimmy.
Yeah.
It looks like that's got almost too much clear. I don't think you can put too much color on these. I want to have a blow through, but I want it really rich, you know, on top. Yeah. Nice. Good going.
And some of that fire orange color.
Mm-hmm.
That beautiful fire orange that's on the top right there.
So no one loves color more than Dale. It's more color.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks, Dan. So we're going to go from the baskets, which, you know, the concept came in 1977, and then we're going to pass by these drawings as well, which are from 1995 and 97, but we're going to stop right here and look at one of the newest series that Dale has worked on. And these are called light drawings. Basically, what it is, that is plexiglass, which Dale has sandblasted each side of the plexiglass and painted with acrylic paints. And there is a light behind it. So these pieces were made for the gallery, and it's the first time this work is being shown in Canada. So we've gone from an early series from 1977 to something very new from 2020. So then if you turn the light off, there we go. So,
and that's that detail shot, you can see the paint that's on both sides of the acrylic. When he first started doing these, he only painted the front side. With that back side painted, don't you think it gives it a lot more dimension, Sandra?
Yeah, it gives it a lot of depth.
Mm-hmm. And he still loves to use the acrylic paints that are golden paints from upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
Colors made just for him, a lot of times metallic. That Chihuly signature on this particular one, I believe, is a bronzy metallic color. You can see that more when there's more light on the back and less on, more on the front, less on the back. The double Ikebana here is gorgeous as well, and so totally different, light on and light off. So when Dale paints, he paints within his own series, in his own vocabulary. Ikebana is a series he does in glass as well. Look at the depth of that. That's a great shot.
Yeah.
And now you just see the top layer, that silver and metallic. And I believe the pink on those stems have a little bit of metallic to it as well.
Yes, they do. I noticed that Dale uses metallic pink not in a lot, but in a number of paintings. And even in the sculpture, sometimes we see pink that looks very metallic.
Yeah, the metallic pink paint and the metallic blue paint, I see that he reaches for quite often.
Mm-hmm.
Both works on paper, on acrylic. And this is a great size, a really a beautiful size. And you have one other light drawing in the show as well. We'll come to later.
We'll come around to it. Yeah.
It's a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then we were talking about baskets, and this particular basket, we're not getting a really good look at its color, but this is the 40th anniversary basket. And Dale created this in 2017, this series. It was just a limited series. And I should mention that Dale's one of the largest collectors of native Indian baskets, I think, in North America, isn't he? And
that's a great shot.
yeah, that's a good one.
He's got a vast collection, you're right. And a lot of them are in like Chihuly Garden and Glass, and go through exhibits around the world, in the museums and garden exhibits. That's a great shot. You can see how soft the folds are. But there's a couple things to talk about here, right, Sandra?
Yes.
One is
So
the pickup
the
technique.
patterning. Well, the technique, if you look carefully, you'll see there's like a blanket weaving or little patches on the basket. And these were done by two artists that Dale has worked with for 40 years, Joey Mace and Flora Kilpatrick. And they developed this technique, which they call a pickup technique. The pattern is made on a metal table, and when the glass is hot, when it's blowing, it's rolled, and the hot glass picks up the pattern. Susan, you've probably seen it made many, many times, and you can
Dale designed this, and designed and created this pickup technique. A lot of people think that that's just painting on the surface, but it's actually glass threads. I don't think I have queued up a video of it, but we can certainly send one out at a later point. The other thing to mention about the 40th anniversary, there's two colors, one off of your shoulder, up top of your red cabinet behind you, and this color.
Right.
Both of those colors have a lot of metals in them. And what that does is it creates, even though it's one color, it creates many, many different colors when it goes through the process. It just depends on how much heat and how much oxygen and the annealing process. So even though this looks like it's amethyst and aqua and soft blues and coppers and reds, it's one color. It wasn't all those colors picked up as the base color.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. You really have to see this piece in person, I think, to get the true color of it.
I think in your catalog, it captures it pretty well. And you have that online too, don't you, your catalog? Yep.
Now, this is one of my favorite, one of my personal favorites, which is the Venetian series. And when I did my first exhibition with Dale in 1989, I was the first gallery to exhibit as a body of work, the Venetians. And they're inspired by Italian Art Deco vessels. And this one is very unique because if you take a look at it, the vessel itself is clear. You see the bubbles in the glass.
That were intentionally done.
That were done intentionally, correct.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're very graceful. They have so much dignity, these pieces.
Those individual elements are all put on hot, and that little, just notice the little coil, because we're going to talk about coils when we move on to a newer series, because this series started, like you said, in '88 and was first exhibited at a gallery in '89 with you.
That's right.
Yeah. That's a great shot.
And I actually do have 3 Venetians of my own from that particular era, from 1988, 89.
Do you?
I do. I love them.
Yeah. I love them too. Do you want to swing around? We talked a little bit about Ikebana and slowly go past these beautiful drawings.
So Dale has a love of flowers. His mother was a gardener, and he spent a lot of time with her in the garden, and you can see it reflected in a lot of his different series. And Ikebana is a Japanese term, if I'm correct, about flower design. And these pieces are quite monumental. They're very large, and the patterns, there's so many colors in this one surface, but very Japanese.
This has a metallic surface, actually.
Mhm.
When I don't know how comfortable you are getting in there. Good job, Daniel. But you can see the metal on the surface and that beautiful blue aqua and the pickup of a little bit of the yellow frit on top. So frit is just ground up pieces of raw glass. There's even silvering going down the stem. The stem is blown separately from the vessel, and it's just nestled inside, oftentimes with sand. Hold it down in place. And then that big long leaf off to the right. I love the juxtaposition of those two elements coming out of that vessel, don't you?
It looks a little bit precarious, doesn't it? You'll often see these pieces in Dale's garden exhibitions, and even in the inside greenhouses. I think they're quite remarkable. Susan and I went to London last July. It seems like it was a lifetime ago. But we were lucky enough to view Dale's Kew Garden exhibition. And in the greenhouses, he had so many of the ikebanas among the trees and the plants that you could barely tell what was real and what was glass. They were beautiful.
Yeah, you had a really nice group of people from Toronto, actually, that came with you, and you often do these trips. And Dale's got a couple exhibitions up right now. I should just mention is Chihuly in Nashville, Tennessee, and then at the Baker Museum in Naples, Florida just opened. But,
so if anyone's going to Naples for the winter, they have to see that exhibition for sure.
For sure.
So
but this is another piece
Go ahead.
that Dale designed just for you, Sandra, and actually made you put this wall up to display it.
Exactly.
The back part, a little bit of an intimate experience, huh?
This wall didn't exist 6 weeks ago, but it's actually a great addition to the gallery. And he's used 24 karat gold, which I think is the first time he's used that in the Persian elements.
It's very unusual. He's done it a couple times, but I really haven't seen the use of it. And the purple is really hard to work with. It can get really dark, and the color of this amethyst is so beautiful along with the reflections. As you can see, there's like 2 or 3 different colors of purple. Got a really deep one, and you got a mid-range violet. The way the whole pieces work again together and interact and overlap, speak to each other. Look at that reflection of that bottom piece.
Beautiful.
The way that gold leaf is coming through as a mottled pattern, and then that top one with the wrap with the stripes. These are fun to watch being made too. We'll have to get you back.
Oh, yeah, do we have Jimmy doing one of those?
I think I have Rotolo.
Or maybe we don't.
I don't think so.
So we're looking at straight ahead the painting wall, which is a very kind of iconic thing that Dale does, which I absolutely love. And I wonder how long it takes him to put the composition together. But when Dale paints, he paints only the series that he works on. So if he's doing a basket, or this looks like an ikebana to me, and then beside it is something that Dale makes, which is called a float. And then we have some baskets. It's always his own work that he reflects in his paintings, but the composition is so beautiful. And each of these are framed individually, and they can be sold individually, or it would be lovely if someone bought the whole wall, but you can see that they are individual standalone paintings.
Yeah, they're just installed really right next to each other. Dale's a collector, and he loves to see things in mass. And it works really well on that back wall of yours, as Sandra. This is on Arch's watercolor paper, the same acrylic paint that was on those light drawings. And I'd be happy to try to share my screen again to show a drawing video.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, let's try this again.
You know, once when I visited Seattle, I had a meeting with Dale, and I was told to meet him upstairs. He had some private quarters at the boathouse where he works, and he was out on the deck painting, and he was working on at least 3 different paintings at one time, and those squeeze tubes, the paint was all over the place. He was like a whirling dervish, just walking on the paintings. Often you'll see his footprints. I've noticed that in some of the paintings we've had in the gallery. But he's kind of a wild man with that squirt tube.
And you saw some of that in that video.
Yeah.
He does like to paint on the deck and down low and racing from one to the other.
So Susan, why don't you talk about this series and how I happened to end up getting the Pinot pieces, because I think I have to thank you for that.
Oh, well, this is a real special series. Dale's had a lot of very talented people on his glass blowing team. And in this particular series, it was Pinot Cineretto that was on his team. And these were done at the Museum of Glass and also at the Boathouse, which is Dale Chihuly's studio and shop where we blow everything. Pinot Cineretto is a glass maestro that was known for hot sculpting. And hot sculpting, all that means is it's solid work. It's all done with tools. So those birds on the top are all solid, and it's not done with any molds at all. You just see him using really scissors and tweezers and all sorts of metal rudimentary kind of tools, to me, it looks like. Now, Pinot worked with Dale and the whole team, and you can see the beautiful vessels that were blown to mount these pieces. And Dale kept these in his private collection for a while, as Pinot passed away several years later after this blow, and Dale just felt he wanted to keep a hold of these himself. And when we were working through the design of your show, Sandra, we thought it was really important, because of the relationship of 30 years, to kind of show the breadth of the work. So it's really much like a mini retrospective. And these have not been shown before in a gallery setting. And probably Dale would like to hang on to most all of these. I know he's got a few that he has, and I think you've already found a really good home for one of these.
Yes, we've sold one of them. The one that Daniel is approaching now, we have sold.
Yeah, they're
very good,
really special. You can see the Italian influence on them with the embellishment, the gold leafing, which is 24 karat again. Do you have a favorite one?
Well, I must admit, this one and the far left one, but it's hard.
The lower,
only because I know I could place them. The other one is absolutely beautiful, but I don't know if I have a spot for it.
Oh, you're thinking for yourself. Okay.
There you go. You asked me if I had a favorite, so yeah. I always think, what would I like?
Yeah, that's
the birds in this piece are beautiful.
They really are. And the branches as the base, there's so much detail. I don't want you to have to lean into it, Daniel, because it's a little precarious, but you can see straight through that beautiful vessel on the bottom. Yeah, so
Yes.
just signed these and released these 3 for you.
Well, I appreciate it. And it was great that it was really the first piece we sold in the show.
Yeah.
When I pointed out. Yeah, do you mind turning around and going back to those stumps, the Pilchuck stumps, before we leave this area? Because they have an interesting story too. This is the first time that these pieces have been shown in a gallery setting. And in many ways, you might not recognize them as Dale's work. They're very different. They're called, I've mentioned that Pilchuck stumps, and Dale was one of the founders of the Pilchuck Glass School, which is the leading glass school in the world. And it's just outside of Seattle, I think about an hour and a half outside of Seattle. And he's taken the stumps on the property and he blew the glass into the stumps, which created this very organic, irregularly formed objects. They're quite beautiful and intense, actually.
They're really powerful pieces, aren't they?
Yeah, very.
Yeah. And that texture on the outside, Daniel, if you can get close on maybe the base of this one, is from the bark of the tree. So he did this blow at Museum of Glass, where that video was Chihuly in the Hot Shop that won 2 Emmys. And you can see him actually blowing, and the team blowing in these pieces of wood bark, and the wood bark is catching on fire and there's smoke everywhere. And look at how he just left the tops of them really raw, natural. And you have 3 of these in the show. This one is particularly beautiful. I think this one has a little bit of provenance to it and was shown at Tacoma Art Museum.
And the drawing, I think there's just 2 of these drawings, Susan.
Yes,
Again,
you're
very
right.
organic looking, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a very popular drawing for people to look at. It's really drawn them into the piece. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, it's so different, isn't it?
Very.
When I was doing research for your, it was so fun to come across this and actually see it. I hadn't ever seen it before in person, and it's just perfect on that wall.
Well, everyone is really noticing it. People who come to the gallery, it's so different from the other work and even from the other drawings that it gets noticed by most people. Okay.
Nice.
Thanks, Dan. So now we're going into, oh, okay, Daniel's coming over here. This is part of the Pooties series. Dale calls these Sea Life, and they're very monumental pieces, very large scale works. And the drawings, the interesting thing is Dale lost an eye early on and dislocated his shoulder, which made it difficult for him to blow glass any longer. And his way of communicating with his glass blowers is often with a drawing. So if you take a look at this particular drawing, sweet potatoes and bamboo, and you can see the drawing related to the sculpture beside it. There you go, sweet potatoes and bamboo. It's a very good.
These are
Go ahead.
These are 2 different pieces. There's a top piece and a base piece, and these again are done with most of the time with Pinot Cineretto, because a lot of the pieces on the top are hot sculpted and not blown. So it's made that bamboo and the sweet potato, but there's a beautiful patterning on the base of that with that gold leaf.
Would there be many of these pieces, Susan?
Pardon?
Would there be very many of these, of this series, of the?
Well, there's some on display at Chihuly Garden and Glass, which is the museum at the base of the Space Needle in Seattle. It's not a very large series. It was just mainly done when Pinot would come, and Dale would ask Pinot over the years to come and work with him.
So this is one of my favorite series. It's called Rotolo, and it's actually one of Dale's newest series. And I think that's what's so exciting, that over a 50-year career, he's still creating exciting and innovative work. This is much more sculptural than most of the other work that that Dale has made. And rotolo is an Italian word for coil. So each of these coils weighs over 100 pounds. So, and it can take up to 17 people to make one sculpture. Do we have a video on this one?
Sure. Let me share my screen on this, and then we'll continue to look at the other two. It's a good idea. Let me just find it.
And then we'll look at them. That's right.
Okay. This is
Well,
it.
I just hate to, you're so hot
This was
now.
the basket.
I have your working colors
One
in.
second. It'll just take me a minute to find the right
Well,
one.
while you're doing that, we can go to the blue one, which is a little different. The base is different. It has bubbles in it, which is created by using baking soda.
Correct.
Look at that. But I mean, this piece is so heavy, it takes at least 2 or 3 people to move it, but they're so elegant and with so much grace.
Yeah, they reach for the sky, even though the weight of them can be up to 140 pounds. We run out of glass. We can't even make more than 1, 2 or 3 in a glass blowing session. And I just did find the rotolo video. Should I share it now?
Yeah, let's take a look at it. It really gives you a sense of what goes into making this piece.
Okay.
Yes. Whoa. Man, these things are big.
Look at that. That's not easy to do.
No, can you imagine?
And then it's put on hot like that.
So that's a special tool to hold that piece actually on the pipe.
So I've been there for a rotolo blow, and the excitement and the yelling and the screaming when one is finished and put into the annealer is amazing. And here again is a beautiful rotolo drawing from that series. And again, he's used that beautiful pink color that's so iridescent, but it definitely captures the art. Definitely captures the sculpture.
Yeah. It subtly goes to a soft blue too, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
If you go in close.
Oh, we caught it a little bit. Yeah. Thank you. Look at all the depth on, Dale's painted with painting assistants for many, many years. And so a lot of the times
There it is.
assistants will help him with the backgrounds and hand him all the different tubes of paint.
There's a beautiful Venetian drawing right there that we walked by.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. I love that one.
The thick lip of paint on the top is gorgeous. It almost looks like he's using oil pastels with acrylics to me there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there are pastels in the coils.
Mm-hmm. These are very different.
Mm-hmm.
And then this red rotolo, it's a really fiery color. Look at it with the stay right there for a second. Look at it with the light drawing behind it.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the third light drawing in the exhibition. I have really grown to love this particular series, I must tell you.
They're really powerful and strong. There's not very many of them in the beginning. The success rate was not very good, meaning that when they came out of the annealer, there was something wrong with them. Dale just continued and figured it out. Really beautiful.
That was done. I think he started that series in 2017, 2018. It's pretty recent.
The
The
Rotolo,
Rotolos. Mhm.
2013.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It was the year I came on to work with them. Look at all the layers of color in that. You really don't even see that beautiful olive green or the charcoal.
There, Daniel's turned the light off and it's still looks
Pretty powerful,
exquisite.
huh?
Yeah, beautiful.
Can you flip the light back on one more time and just hang tight for a second so people can see all the different layers, the front to the back and the depth on it? I've had people say they wanted to put that switch cycle so they can see it going back and forth. But look at that.
Yeah.
Totally different.
So many colors.
And the energy coming off the edges of the vessels. The stems of the Ikebana.
Ikebanas, yes.
Yeah. So we moved past your office.
We did. And here's another wow piece. This piece really is a wow piece. It is a basket that is 3 feet across. You have to see this in person to really appreciate the fire ruby red color. Doesn't really show as ruby red as it is in person.
Looks like the one he held up in the video, doesn't it? That base.
Does.
Mm-hmm. The lip wrap on that, Sandra, with the trails coming down.
Beautiful.
Really like a painting. It's an oxblood bread that often appears black. And as it gets drugged down the color side, it sometimes gives a little tinge of red. It's a great centerpiece, focal piece in a home. You know, when you come around the side, you can get a glimpse of the richness of the color and the base of the amber in the color.
Yeah.
You know, with our iPhones, they're always trying to adjust for the light. That's gorgeous, though. That's pretty close to the color, isn't it?
Beautiful. Yes. You see the layers, the different objects. You look right through it. And again, the shadow on the wall.
Yeah.
And then I think we're going to just pass by some other baskets. Most of Dale's work is so rich and bright. It's interesting to see more pale, the white baskets and the tobacco color baskets are lovely. This is, I guess, more like a native Indian color.
Yeah, it's more subtle.
Very calm.
Mm-hmm. What he kind of started off with, the inspiration was from nature.
Mm-hmm.
And these white ones are a little blown out. So come in a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
And then just go up to the top to show that oxblood red wrap too. Yeah. And there's a special interesting element in that one in the left, right, Sandra?
Yes, if you approach that one, Daniel, the elements inside are blue and some white, but the blue, yeah.
Which is an unusual way
Mm-hmm.
to mix the colors, but so effective. It's just really subtle from the outside, and you take a peek right over the edge and you see that sky blue, ocean blue color.
Yeah, a bit of a reflection coming through. And then this beautiful quad drawing of Dale's, again, which he paired with the Persian green and sea green and yellow installation. It's a Ikebana again.
That's quite large. It's 84 by 60 inches. It's kind of hard to tell
Mhm.
in your space. And he painted that all together on the floor. Sometimes the team would build him a little platform to stand up above it so he could get the paint splatter all the way up to the top of the sheet.
And
These
then
are
here
some wonderful
yeah,
little jewels. Hmm?
yeah, more intimate pieces, definitely.
Mhm.
So the one that Daniel is approaching right here is a Macchia. And this piece comes from 1981, the year that Dale started making Macchias. Today, they're one of his largest objects that he makes, but at the time when he started, they were very small, and he used so many colors in one piece. Look at the number of colors: green, blues, pinks, turquoise. It's very vibrant.
It's a great way to see how the series began, which was smaller.
And this is a beautiful piece from his, it's a Jerusalem vessel, and this is a nod to the exhibition that Dale did in 2000, I guess it was 1999 and 2000, when he did Light in the Tower, Light in the Tower, David? No, I got the name wrong. Well, anyways, it was
Chihuly in the Light of Jerusalem, I
Thank
think
you,
it is.
thank you. And it's unbelievable that, but that exhibition had 2 million people visit it.
And you were
Anyways,
there.
I was there. I was there opening night, and it was incredible. I was just going to mention that Dale created this series as a reflection of the landscape of Jerusalem or Israel, plus the citadel walls. So these chunks of glass are reflective of the citadel walls. The green is very thick walled also, so it's not like his other works, which are fairly delicate. There we go. You can see how thick that is.
And again, with the intentional bubbles, the quenching in sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda. I love the way it captures the light, those bubbles, and just it's a little bit richer and deeper in person, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's actually very strong in color.
Mm-hmm. And you've got a few piccolos, smaller Venetian series. This is one that you've sold, but you'll have another one to show as well.
And the coils again. So is this where the coils started, Susan?
The Venetian series is definitely an inspiration for the Rotolo. Mm-hmm. These coils might have been solid, whereas the Rotolo coils were blown. They were a bubble blown, and you saw it being whipped around that long pipe that was flaming before he started whipping it around.
Right.
Glass. Mm-hmm. What's above there? I forget. Oh, the other
Another
piccolo.
piccolo. Yes, that's a beautiful piccolo as well. But
Yeah.
everyone seemed to have their eye on the purple and pink one, but this is a very elegant one.
Again with the coils. And all the vessel is blown. While the vessel's being blown, some of the other team are making these elements to be placed on hot.
You know, glass is a very collaborative art. So especially with Dale's work, which is so monumental in scale, even though these pieces are smaller, but they're very complex. So they require a number of people at one time to be working together.
Yeah. This beautiful orange Persian, really strong in person. And I love the way the color goes from really deep on the edge and comes down to the center with that beautiful wrap pattern. It's the opaque white wrap pattern.
Yeah, very nice. Beautiful. And then what have we got below that?
Another one that you have found a new home for.
Actually, no, this one isn't sold. This is the new one that we received. We did sell the one before this. There was a green piece that we sold. This is new, which is gorgeous. Or am
Okay.
I confused? No,
I thought you said the same client got this one too.
no, he bought a different one. Oh, no, he bought this one. You're right. Okay, I can't keep track of all these sales. There you go. He did buy that one.
There's the cobalt blue, very
Yes.
strong and powerful with the red lip wrap. And then the element inside, that's much, feels really much sea-like, doesn't it? Is the yellow sea form still there? Or do we have to sign off? Are we okay with time? Oh, there it is on the top
There it
left.
is. That's a
Love
beautiful
this
piece.
one.
Beautiful.
Doesn't this have a red lip wrap? It's kind of hard to see.
It does have a red lip wrap. Yes.
And a body wrap, red, both. It really grabs the light and absorbs it, doesn't
It's
it?
quite dramatic when you see it in person. Very
Mhm.
dramatic. For like not a large piece,
Mhm.
it holds its own very nicely.
I could probably find the dimensions of it somewhere.
I might have it. And
10 or 11 inches, I would guess, right? Here it is, 7 by 15 by 8.
mhm.
Do you want to
there's-
show the last painting?
There's one painting, Dan. There we go.
The beautiful float, tons of energy in that with the yellow signature,
Mhm.
the energy in the back. You can tell he was painting on the floor. He just kept going with the circles on the right side there. And sometimes he would take the acrylic paint and water it down. He called it 50-50, put half water in the bottle. And that's what it looks like that's going on in the background to me of this one. See how
More of
soft?
a wash. Yes.
It looks
I
like
see
a
that.
watercolor, but
Mhm.
it's just what he calls 50-50. Yeah. Well,
So it
if
is
has
a
any
beautiful.
questions?
Yes. Would anyone like to ask questions now? The other thing I should mention is we do have a catalog for the exhibition and a price list. If anyone would like a catalog or price list, just please get in touch with the gallery. We'll make sure that you do get one. But are there any questions now?
I don't see anybody typing anything in the chat box.
So if not, I should just thank you all for being here. I haven't seen anyone, so I'm not sure who's been online, but I hope you enjoyed the tour. And I really want to thank Susan for being with us. And if anyone would like to see the exhibition in person, just let us know. We're seeing clients by appointment, and we would love to have you see it. It's as wonderful as it might look on the tour. It's even more beautiful in person. So I'd love to show it to you.
And there's your catalog off your shoulder there.
Oh, yes, I do have a catalog, which
And
is,
it's
does it
the
show?
green.
Yeah, a Rotolo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
thank
Rotolo
you,
in the exhibition.
Thank you,
So-
everyone.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Good evening.